So my story, thanks, Rico. Appreciate it. Happy Friday, everyone. My study today is from News Medical Life Sciences. Another study shows positive impact of medical cannabis laws on mental health from the University of Basel, Switzerland. In a new study, researchers from University of Basel investigated whether medical cannabis legislation in the USA is improving the mental health of those who use cannabis for medical reasons, and whether it has a negative effect on the mental health of the general population. We talk about recreational and medical cannabis use without clear understanding of the difference. As a result, some see cannabis as a vice, like alcohol or tobacco, and fear the negative consequences from addiction. The medical counter highlights that cannabis has benefits for people suffering from pain, nausea, seizures, or other conditions. In Switzerland, they are evaluating what has happened in the US so that they might learn from our mistakes. For this analysis, researchers combined two large data sets. Approximately 8 million people took part in telephone surveys between 1993 and 2019 as part of the Behavioral Risk Factors Surveillance System, which collect data on mental health, among other things. They also use data from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. The respondents included a range of cannabis users, from those who completely abstain to those who claim recreational use to those who use it medically. Mental health, that includes addiction, was measured using self-assessment, where respondents recalled the number of days they had mental health problems in the previous month. Using statistical methods, the researchers measured the impact of the legal approach to cannabis on people who use for medical reasons. They concluded that the mental health of medical cannabis users improved with legal access. The authors estimate that medical cannabis users spend 0.3 days less per month due to changes in the law. The same applies to those who have pain. Also, good news is that medical cannabis legalization does not have a negative effect on the general population. Researchers found no effect on the mental health of recreational users, including the younger population. So why do we consider cannabis a vice? Why are we putting age limits and potency caps on a product that generally does not have negative effect? Is it possible that recreational use is a poorly thought out classification that appeases older generations who believe that cannabis is a vice? What else benefits the sick and does not negatively affect the general population? Vitamins. With a study this large, prohibitionist groups like SAM don't have a leg to stand on. SAM creates fear for cannabis hurting the population, but the smart approach seems to be to legal access to cannabis. Based on these results, cannabis does not appear to be a vice. So, are the recreational users really just using for wellness or well-being? What do you think? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with
Dr. T. This just goes and reiterates what we have always said since the beginning of this, is that all use is medical use, regardless of whatever reason you think that you're consuming cannabis for, even if you have no reason.
Yeah, and I think I think the recreational use is a Trojan horse for those who are prohibitionists in some way. That gives them a way to sort of suppress this. They're just partying. They're just having fun. It's a vice, like alcohol and tobacco.
It gives them a way to marginalize it.
It's not causing negative effects.
Mm-hmm. It gives them a way to marginalize.
No, we just out here medicating, bro.
Yeah. They don't like that because they're like, no medicine. You don't smoke any medicine. They don't like it when you call it that. They get offended.
Even though it's not harming, at least it's not harming mental health, right?
Exactly. I think that's for sure. That is
Get your mind right.
Sure. That is for sure. You have any thoughts on this, Matthew St. Germain?
I think it's a huge positive.
I just think that this is great news. Another big chunk of great news, and I think that we really need to move more and more out of the stigma of cannabis illegalization and realize this thing is a medicine that has been with the human race for probably 100,000 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
We've been eating, it started most likely with us eating the seeds. Then from eating the seeds, somehow somebody got a hold of some decarboxylated cannabis. My favorite story is the Scythians. Scythians were horse warrior nomads in the Eurasian steppes. And the way that they would party is they would have these big rituals where they would have their tents, would start a big bonfire in the middle of the tent, and they would just throw cannabis plants onto the bonfire, and they would play drums and sing and chant, dance around the bonfire, and basically hotbox the tent and get high to the sky all night. And so this is something we've been doing as a species so very long. And anybody who knows the great work of Jack Herrera, who wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes, we all know that this was Harry Anslinger and the Dow Company, William Randolph Hearst, putting together once again this system of patents that we have in America, and going towards the profit and the funneling of profits into one person's pockets, racism and outright lies about the danger of this gentle healing plant, to make billions upon billions of dollars on nylon, on synthetic paints, and on cutting down all of our old growth trees. And to go even farther in this, Paul Stamets, the world's preeminent mycologist, has stated that that was an ecological travesty, likes of which we've really never seen on this earth, because these old growth mushrooms are a reservoir of, these old growth forests, are a reservoir of these polypore mushrooms, which are the hard shelf mushrooms. These hard shelf mushrooms have been humanity's #1 medicine cabinet, right along with cannabis and a couple of other plants, again, for thousands of years. When they found Otzi the Iceman, they found several of the bog mummies. They always have this little pouch on their belt at the side, and the contents of the pouch are these polypore mushrooms. These polypore mushrooms contain polysaccharides, very complex sugar molecules, go into our body and act as like programming code, and they upregulate our body's immune system. They can fight and kill cancer tumors. So we just need to continue to expose the truth that the real medicine cabinet that grows for free from the ground and the trees and the fungi for us to use has been hijacked and hidden from us, so that people can have 16 vacation houses and continue to lord over other people like serfs, and it has to change. So read The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Do some research on the internet yourself about these substances and where they come from, and help us all return to a more wholesome, healthy, and holistic approach to nature and healing ourselves.
Matthew, let me just correct one thing in your history. It wasn't Dow, it was DuPont.
Right? You're right. DuPont. I'm sorry.
DuPont came up with nylon, and while it's true that a DuPont nylon parachute saved George Herbert Walker Bush when he jumped from his plane, it was hemp rope that held the nylon parachute to him. So hemp played its role in there. But the important thing was, so they wanted to turn, so Hearst had huge lumber holdings, and his friends were all huge lumber barons out in the Pacific Northwest. And they wanted to turn all that forest into paper, right, that they could print their propaganda on, right? And DuPont sold the chemicals to make paper, right? So why would they want that to change, right? Mm-hmm. So just to add that to your history, it wasn't Dow, it was DuPont.
Right. Yes, sir. I stand corrected. It was DuPont. I equally hate both of them and sometimes get them confused. And also, right then was when the hemp decorticator came out. It was a machine that was going to dramatically lower the labor input costs. Then you got to a point where an acre of hemp produces 4 times as much paper as an acre of trees, and an acre of hemp can produce that 4 times the amount every year, whereas a stand of old growth trees takes hundreds of years to replace.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and just to add that 4 number in there again, is that there's 4 times the amount of lignin in wood, right? Wood's got to grow, entirely straight, and has to be this huge gargantuan thing. So that needs a lot of lignin, because if you don't have lignin, guess what? You have cellulose. And what's cellulose? Just paper, right? So it's the lignin that basically holds it together. So there's 4 times the amount of lignin in wood than there is chemical and there is in hemp. So guess what? You need 4 times the amount of chemicals, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So
yeah,
go figure.
Do the math. That's for you, Rico, right there. Follow the money. Follow the money, Rico.
Follow the money.
That's right.
Was DuPont? Was the DuPont family responsible for Teflon too?
Well, that wasn't really the family. By then, it was several generations. And I have to, put this disclaimer out. I worked for DuPont for 18 years, so I had sort of an inside view of that gargantuan company. And my hippie friends always gave me shit for working there, but I figured, hey, it's good to have someone like me in there, like
someone on the inside.
View.
I agree with that.
And again, all the projects that I worked on wasn't from petrochemicals and their legacy around nasty chemistry. It was trying to do good green chemistry, which most chemical companies want to do, and they do mostly for the lip service and the PR. But what Saint Germain said is absolutely spot on correct, because they had a dog in the fight. Why would you want to upset making millions of dollars turning trees into toilet paper?
Mm-hmm.
You don't stir the money.
Yeah.
You do not want to stir the money pot.
It's all about that money. It's all about that.
Not for big industry. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll right into the Mr. Dope Dad himself. He's a happy cabbage specialist on top. That's right. What are you wearing? Is that a Black Star hat again?
Nah, man, this is Shy Boys, man.
Oh, Shy Boys. Oh, you wore that. You wore that for Deep Dish Pizza Day. I see. I get it. Okay. All right.